That was Law of the Wolf, Joe. This whole entire week at the ACC tournament in Washington, D.C. has been a lesson in Law of the Wolf. Because what were we talking about going into the ACC tournament regarding NC State?
Well, the very real fact, if they lose on Tuesday to Louisville, there's a real chance Kevin's already been replaced, fired. So
now they've won three games. Just beat Duke. I have thoughts on Duke tonight, but that's secondary to what we saw at NC State, because I think the biggest takeaway that I have from NC State, and I think yesterday probably solidified it for them, and it was evident tonight, unbothered. House money is a thing, man. House money is absolutely a thing. And if you're enjoying yourself, if you're having fun playing basketball, that was evident tonight against Duke, while Duke was struggling to get through.
Yeah, my concern for State tonight was that they had poured it out against Syracuse, because we saw this just last year, where they just absolutely hammer jobbed Virginia Tech and Greensboro. The next day, you're coming out thinking they're breathing fire, and they lose to Clemson. I thought that was going to be in play tonight, but the truth of the matter is, first half they came out with the urgency that they needed to play with. They came out with the desperation that they needed to play with. Quite frankly, you know, we've been talking about, you know, this urgency and this desperation, and how do you play with that kind of hunger? I didn't see it from Duke. And I'm not saying they rolled over and died, because obviously they're still a pretty talented team.
Yeah.
But I got some great moments in Mark Gottfried history for you after sitting in front of the Duke family for that. Well, once we get to the Duke portion of this programming, I have some great moments where the Gott man was absolutely spot on, 100% right.
I think what's funny about State is they've got pieces. You can see what they were trying to do. You can see what they were trying to do.
Like Casey Marcel, who played really well in this game, even though I think he only finished with 11 points. There were 11 big points.
Big points. Huge points.
The whole premise of this team was they had a bunch of B players who on any given night, one or two, maybe even three, could play like an A. And really what's happened with this team this year is only Horn has managed to consistently play like an A.
And he kept playing like an A tonight.
He did. But look at the balance.
Dude, you got Jaden Taylor's been very, very good.
But he did his role.
Yes.
Morcell with the scoring. You know who else? Michael O'Connell.
Yep.
I mean, this is a guy they got from Stanford who I'm convinced they got to just not make mistakes.
Yeah.
The last two nights, though, in this tournament, he's making shots. So I don't know if he was trading notes with Cormac Ryan, if they had the Stanford Secret Society meeting of white shooting guards, but they got together. He made some big shots for State tonight.
But to continue with the Law of the Wolf theme, there's the whole law. There's the whole Law of the Wolf and how this week is gone, and then there was the almost Law of the Wolf with Ben Middlebrooks and the technical foul for hanging on the rim, which he should have just put that thing through. I get it. It was the right call. There was some confusion as to why Duke only got one shot, and then NC State got the ball back to inbounds, but that's just the nature of that kind of technical foul.
Yeah, not all technical fouls are your coach swearing or you throwing a punch.
But when the Ben Middlebrooks technical happened, my phone lit up.
Mine too.
It lit up with, there it is, NC State shit. There it is, Law of the Wolf. I think
the
at
law
one
has
point
to suck you in before you really have to.
At one point, I hear
Yeah,
Luke. Okay, I'll hit you on mute here. At one point, Luke DeCock, the News and Observer, who's down the table from us, I just hear Joe. He was clearly calling for you. So I got out of the way, and he just goes, Law of the Wolf. Here it is. But obviously, that wasn't the case. Alex is over at the Carolina Hurricanes game, which last time I checked, the Hurricanes were putting it on the Panthers. At least last time I checked. And 9:01 p.m. he texts me, Law of the Wolf, engage. I'm like, we'll see. He's like, come on, man, top shelf NC State shit. I'm like, we'll see. NC State wins. Apparently a large Wolfpack chant broke out at the Canes game. So clearly NC State fans over there watching that game. So you're not buying the Law of the Wolf thing.
Well, no, it's not. You're expecting the least.
Yes.
Right. It was against Syracuse.
Sure.
What today was understanding the assignment.
Okay.
And this is what is frustrating about this team in particular. They go to Clemson. They win the game that they did. If they had played like this post Clemson, You're talking about a team that comes here comfortably with 12 or 13 ACC wins, that's comfortably in the field as they were last year.
Yeah.
Instead, you're talking about a team that comes here losing 4 of 5 and with their coach's future very much in question.
Mm-hmm.
After tonight, well, as I've said all along, the conversation, there are moving parts to that conversation.
Agreed. No, I totally agree with you on that. Let's go to the YouTube comments, which have the YouTube comments started before we even went live, which I thought was hilarious.
That warms my heart.
From T, the flip word of the day is petulant. He fouled out for once. He actually fouled out with 15 seconds to go. Shout out to Brownlow, who had called that one out a while back. From Ryan, oh my, hope you didn't use all your bonus bets on Duke UNC for the final.
There couldn't be a bigger contrast between the two schools and the two programs right now.
Yeah.
Like, a couple of my Duke people were texting me about Ryan Young, and I'm thinking to myself, it's absolutely on Shire that they went into this season with the roster that the way that this is.
But they tried. Sometimes you swing and miss, which is weird considering it's Duke and they have a manager. They should be able to get whoever they want, but they swung and missed. I don't think this could be a problem next year. But you know what?
You need to learn from this year then.
Yes.
Because I'm looking at their bench and I'm going, the truth of the matter is all of those players are all 4- and 5-star players.
Can we talk about Duke for just a second? Because I
do want to talk about Duke.
I've seen this before.
But what I'm saying to you is it couldn't be any clearer, the contrast between where Carolina is right now and the way that they play. Carolina plays connected. Coaches love to talk about that. They're connected. They're energized. They're playing for each other. I look at Duke, and there were some moments where Filipowski does come over to the bench, and he does try to pick up the players in the huddle. I saw Shire, in horse racing, sometimes you use the crop and sometimes you don't. You let the horse run. He tried with a timeout. He tried a motherfuck timeout in the first half.
He did.
That was pure Coach K.
It was.
I mean, this is why they don't invite us to sit behind the bench, because we share these ideas and details. He used F more times than I do on this podcast. Like, he was after it.
Which gets us to the second half and what I've seen out of Coach K, what I've seen out of Roy Williams, and I think what I saw tonight. And I think the bench minutes tells you the story. This is how you want to play. This is the shit you want to get into. You can find yourself. You can get out of it. Look, they won an ACC championship last year. They won the tournament last year. That's not what this year was supposed to be about.
No.
Filipowski doesn't come back for this. All right. Tyrese Proctor doesn't come back for this. You go and you get the complementary pieces like Jared McCain to take you to that next level. You were here for a championship. You were the number 1 seed. I'm sorry.
You were the preseason.
You were the preseason number 1, and I completely understood why. So as the game was wearing on, and it looked like they were cooked, but NC State's still going to NC State, but they looked cooked defensively, just cooked. Every loose ball, State was after that. Okay, second chance points, NC State absolutely dominated them on second chance points, and it got to a point where I started to, it's one of those things where you just realize it in the moment. You go, wait a minute, they haven't played anybody off the bench. And sure enough, TJ Power, what do you call him?
Mild Singler.
8 minutes. Ryan Young, who I like Ryan Young. I understand what he is here to do, okay? He played 6 minutes. Sean Stewart, who looked like a valuable piece for Duke just in the last couple of weeks, he played 4 minutes. That was it. Everybody else played 34 minutes plus, all right? Including Proctor, who played all 40 minutes. So for me
to be consistent, though,
yeah,
I've criticized State for what they did and why they have had problems this year.
Sure.
I honestly don't know how Duke thought they could go, how John Shire specifically thought he can go into this season without an extra big. And I want to know what he thought the freshman class was supposed to be.
I get that.
That's the question I have for him.
Those are all valid questions, but it's now March 14th. Those questions cannot be revisited. This is the group you have. Not to go full Don Waddell, you got to like your group, okay?
My team is on the floor.
My team is on the floor. That's the team you have. And for a while there, I was thinking, okay, you know what? Maybe Carolina's just a bad matchup for them. Yeah, they're finding ways to wins. And we talked about this with CL Brown yesterday. He straight up said, I don't know if this team's got dogs on them. And I've been fighting that. I've been fighting that aspect of this Duke squad because sometimes I think we get a little too wrapped up in those types of things.
Sure.
But the team I saw tonight, no. That's not a team that's not going to go. That's not a team that's not going to go far in the NCAA tournament. So if you were in the buy or sell mode, if we were doing cheesy radio bits like back in the day and we did a buy or sell, well, then I'm absolutely selling on Duke. And I think Shire knew it. Shire knew it. And he just like, you guys got yourself in this shit. You can get yourself out of it. Roy's done that. Kay's done that. And this is maybe the lesson of if you want to go far in the NCAA tournament, you have to play a certain way. You refuse to do it. So let's see what happens.
So my question to you after sitting behind the Duke bench for one game, exactly one game, is why is the team not connected? Why are they not playing the same way that Carolina plays? Why are they not playing with that urgency? Because I don't think this will be an insult to one of our sponsors, but like Duke feels like I went to the butcher's market and I got an unbelievable sausage, I got an unbelievable chicken, and I got an unbelievable cut of steak. And somehow I tried to put it together on a skewer and it didn't taste right. Like they have these ingredients that most people would pay top dollar for, yet somehow the meal is not coming out the way that they had thought it was going to come out at the beginning of the year.
Is it as simple as to say that it's Filipowski?
No, watching them play tonight, he is more assertive than most people give him credit for.
You are right. However, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
He is more assertive. He will fill up the stats. He's consistent in filling up the stats. However, you need some water? You got water, right? Oh, okay. Do you want... Hold on a second. This happened to me the other day, too. Boy, I don't even know where the rest of the water is. You can just have the rest of mine if you need. Here, just take the rest. Just take the rest of mine while we're at it. I mean, we've shared a room. Still big deal. We can swap water. It's not that big of a deal. So, hey, folks, this is live OG After Dark. The problem with Filipowski is that you can get caught up in the reactions. I mean, again, not to channel all the Coach K stuff. We'll reference Coach K a bunch, but how many times has Coach K talked about, I didn't like our body language. I didn't like the way we looked. I didn't like the way that we talked. He would talk about that all the time. You contrast that to your point about being able to sit behind the bench. Earlier today for the Carolina game, you see Elliot Cadeau hyping people up. You see RJ Davis hyping people
They're connected.
up. They're connected. All those types. Cormac Ryan, who literally just got here. Harrison Ingram, who literally just got here. Connected, hyping people up, communicating, things like that. For whatever reason, this group just hasn't been able to gel that way. Probably for a variety of reasons, whether it's the injuries, whether it's dealing with adversity, whether it's, who is the guy that's supposed to take over? It's supposed to be Filipowski, but clearly that hasn't been the case. Maybe it's McCain, but McCain was feeling it today. All the guards, by the way. I
think it was Trayvon. Was it Trayvon Duval who they told to go away?
I can't remember now.
I think that's who it was.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Sometimes it's hard, like when a guy is in the position that Tyrese Proctor's in.
Yeah.
Okay. He has not been the same basketball player this year that he was last year.
No, he hasn't.
And that has affected them. And I know he was hurt for a portion of the season.
He was.
But I do think there's also a mental portion that it's like, I wasn't supposed to be. I'm not even supposed to be here this year. I'm supposed to be in the NBA. Or I'm supposed to be on a rocket right now into the top 5 of the NBA draft. When, somebody will take him and they'll need to work on him a little bit. But, the truth of the matter is him not being who he's supposed to be, and he was the one who really unlocked Filipowski last year, that's been Duke's biggest problem.
It has been a problem. From Jonathan, just be happy we won. That will never die. That will never die. From Michael, I would love my heels and NC Stank, shout out to Theo Pinson, to make it to the finals. That's not how this works.
That's not what Theo called him.
Well, he called them NC Stank, but he also called them those MFers as well. Let's see. People are hyped up.
That's too bad that those motherfuckers beat Theo's second favorite team. It's a shame.
Last call for basketball from Ken.
Yeah. Last call, baby.
He's absolutely right.
It's old school. I mean, look, these two teams just played last Monday.
Yes.
And quite frankly, Duke embarrassed NC State in the first half of that basketball game with 14 offensive rebounds?
Yes.
And that's why I was watching John the way that I was, because State was doing some of those same hustle things, little things. And the truth of the matter is, no matter how talented you are, you still have to do the little things. The details still do matter.
Yeah, it's what John Shire was screaming after the loss in Chapel Hill. It was a continuation when North Carolina went to Cameron Indoor Stadium. They're not doing the little things that make you a championship squad, and that bit him in the ass today. And that's why I'm convinced he just let him sit in it. like he did in the second half. This was from Steven. Law of the Wolf. State fans finally get to fade NC State every game, and they continue to win.
This is a real thing amongst the NC State fan base. If you're not familiar with fade, it means you're betting against NC State.
Oh, man.
With the hopes that you win money, and if you don't win money, so what? Your team won. There it is.
There it is.
State 3-0 since legal betting. And I'm telling you, there's probably 40% of the fan base that is fading them.
From Ken, the Law of the Wolf is in effect. Now watch them lose to Boston College in the semifinals. We'll see what happens with Boston College, Virginia tonight. But we were talking about that on Press Row.
Yeah, the thing about the BC game was if State had lost to Duke, then I guarantee you Boston College was going to beat Virginia. Now that State's there and bracket luck is real,
yes,
it will be Virginia's bracket luck that is real. And they'll play the Wolves.
From our friend Kevin over at Sweetwater. Hope Giglio brought plastic cups and whiskey. No, you could use that right now.
I
with
could
some of
use
the
a
coffee
little brown liquor.
You could have used that right now.
That's Kevin giving us a call back because I did have to rinse during one of the logs.
You did. From Omar, John Shire hot seat officially on. No, it's not.
Will that be my segue to why Mark Gottfried was right though?
You want to do
that's this segment? Or you want for Lord?
Hold on a second. From Mike Jones, with that bad loss, is learning drop Duke out of the first 4 rounds. Maybe that's the case. Let's see. I'm trying to see what else we got here in the chat is absolutely going crazy right now. From Martin, Ovies, this Duke team just doesn't have that dog in it, nor consistently. You're right. Bracket luck, it can get into the second week, and otherwise, when does Cooper Flag get on campus?
You said there was a Duke fan who was mad at me that I said that this is what you're playing for.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm right.
Yeah, no, you're right. From Ryan, build Keats a statue. I still want him gone, but this is fun. That's why I said, man, feels like 87. Feels like 87.
We're going to have to do the show from the Cap Center, the carcass of the Cap Center.
Oh, I feel like I got to get John Feinstein in here too. He was probably there for that one, right?
Yeah, Friedlander was definitely there with the Annapolis Star Telegram, or I can't remember the name of the paper.
Too funny. From Joseph, it seems like any decent team that's scrappy is capable of having success against Duke. And basically punching them in the mouth by playing. Yes, no, that is absolutely true. That is something that we have consistently seen. So anyway, you want to get to what do I see here?
Ken is cracking me up.
Oh, with the bow reference back on that narcotic. Yes, NC State fans have absolutely gone back on that narcotic. We're gonna have we talked to Patrick Stevens of the Washington Post earlier today to talk about what happened with Wake.
Yeah, and really where the league could be in a position where I'm starting to worry that maybe only 3 teams will get in the NCAA tournament.
So we're gonna play this conversation we had with Patrick, and we're gonna get Brownlow on here in a second as well to join us on the After
I'll get
Dark.
some water.
And then you can go get some water. And more importantly, we can then get back to Mark Gottfried's story time. I'm going classic radio tease. All right.
Okay,
stick around for the NCAA tournament breakdown with Patrick Stevens. Come back and stick around for Mark Gottfried's story time and why it's relevant to what happened tonight between NC State and Duke. He is back in the broadcast bunker with us. He is Patrick Stevens, Washington Post, the OG's official bracketologist. Patrick, what up?
Joe, good to see you.
This could be the quickest bracketology segment we've ever done. Wake Forest.
Ouch.
All right. Nice talking to you, Patrick.
Peace out.
But is the Capo Bro going to be in Dayton?
We talked about this yesterday.
Yeah. I thought this was a winner goes to Dayton.
That's not what I said.
I said that.
What you said.
I said that. Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and bring this number up again. Pittsburgh's non-conference strength of schedule is number 343.
Yeah.
That is not a good number to have.
Never go full NC State.
You don't want to do that.
No.
And we have all sorts of examples of that over the years where you do not want to be sitting there going for one of the last few spots and the committee to go, oh, these guys didn't bother to challenge themselves at all. And by the way, what an irony it would be if Jeff Capel, the guy who took on the Big 12 and called nonsense on gaming the net, his was the team that got left out because of a non-conference strength of schedule issue.
It was supposed to be Steve Forbes. He was the one. He was the chosen one. He's the one who has really been after the Big 12. And no, we're not even going to get to that discussion. All right, before we talk about Pitt, though, I did want to expand a little bit on Wake Forest. And NC State found themselves in a similar situation, and it's unfortunate that teams that put themselves back in the position to make the NCAA tournament, for lack of a better term, crap themselves. I mean, I get college basketball is very, very volatile these days because of the changing nature of the rosters, but my goodness, you had something in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, when you go back to, what was that, the 24th of February, and you're Wake Forest, and you have done exactly what everybody said.
Do you need me to hold that for you?
No, I think I'm simply getting my Ken Palm schedule up here so that I can actually read this. All right. So you've done what you're supposed to do. You've beaten Duke. You beat Pitt before that. Just absolutely wailed on Pitt.
Yeah.
And everybody's feeling good about you. And you go and you lose at Notre Dame instantly.
Yeah.
And then you lose to Virginia Tech. And then you do the worst thing of all, and you lose to Georgia Tech at home.
Whew.
I mean, you win 2 of those 3 games. We're not even having this conversation.
Well, I guess that was the next part about it. With Wake Forest, their biggest issue before they had just lost all these games ahead of the Clemson game was their road schedule. Was that bad enough that it was going to potentially keep them out?
I felt the issue for them was that they just didn't have high-end wins. Now, the road schedule is not great. They're 2-9 away from home on road games, 2-3 on neutrals now. So that's not great.
Yeah.
But I felt the real issue was that they just hadn't beaten anybody of any substance. And, the funny thing is you hear Steve Forbes talking after the game, and I know it's one of the Wake Forest talking points. Well, we didn't have the whole team together, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I mean, their second-best victory came against Florida before Efton Reed was available. You look at the losses; they don't have terrible losses. You can sit there and say, "Well, Reed wasn't around when they played LSU, wasn't around when they played Georgia." Those aren't terribly damaging losses. Do they win one of those 2 games if they're at full strength? Yeah, maybe. I certainly can't sit here and definitively say they wouldn't, but that isn't going to cut it. Like, it's not like you were a dramatically better team that piled up a lot more victories and you're trying to absolve yourself of some dicey losses early on.
Is it possible that we're looking at only 3 bids for this league?
We'll see what Boston College has to say about that tonight, but it is possible. I think one of the things that tighten things a little bit today, St. John's beating Seton Hall. I was joking on Twitter earlier, like, is it possible to have 4 Big East teams in Dayton? Seton Hall,
you know the rules.
I do know the rules. I know according to the Giglio rules, which of course is what governs the entire universe.
Yes.
Fair. That there has to be a token mid-major in there, except for the 2 years where they didn't.
Yep.
So, but
I think there's a scenario if Virginia loses tonight. Right.
Yeah, and
if Pitt doesn't win tomorrow,
and there's obviously more games to play. There are teams out there like a Texas A&M. Maybe they play their way in. There's also the scenario of we're still looking at, does the field reduce? Does it add a couple bids with Dayton and Florida Atlantic winning their respective leagues, and suddenly there's a couple more. There's a couple more spaces for teams like a Wake Forest or a Pitt. Probably not a Wake Forest at this point, but like a Pitt, like a Virginia if they lose tonight.
Clemson did enough even without showing up for this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably like a 6 seed, maybe a 7.
Okay.
But I think that they're safely in the field.
Okay. Is there going to be anything gained out of the discourse, as we're talking to the man on social media that has discourse as the name of the one in it? Is there anything that's going to change with the committee and how they go about this stuff and how the coaches talk about it? Because I feel like we've hit a tipping point when we talk about the net where we've gotten down to accusations of gaming the system, accusations that the Iowa State AD, because he was on the committee, he was the chair of the committee, he figured it out and he's been passing that information to his own squad. I feel like things have just gotten to a point that are not great.
Well, if you recall, I go back to 2006 on this.
Okay.
And the Missouri Valley, everybody actually did game the system. because
it's a fine game, though. It's like they figured out the math. Like,
good for them.
Yeah. Any formula, especially if a formula as simplistic as the RPI, right?
Yes.
Like if we're sitting here trying to assign like a level of cuisine to the RPI, it was like meatloaf. It was the meatloaf of mathematical formulas. I'm not going to say that the net. I'm not going to say the net is the filet mignon of mathematical formulas. It's kind of the mystery meat, frankly, of mathematical formulas.
It's the school cafeteria special.
Yes, it's the manager's choice.
That's what that is. Yeah, you never want to touch that stuff.
But any formula that you have, somebody's eventually going to figure out how to tinker with the inputs. And we've talked about this before, where you can sit there and say, oh, well, all they did was go out and play bad teams and beat the heck out of them. Well, you still have to actually go and beat the heck out of them.
Yeah, there's that.
Like you don't just put a 30 piece up on somebody.
Another thing that was making the rounds today, because everybody's trying to find something nefarious behind the scenes when it comes to the NCAA tournament. And David Wardlock had tweeted out something about the top seeds being figured out. I don't have the tweet in front of me, but essentially he made it sound like they've already decided who the number one seeds are.
The process that they go through is they start doing that stuff fairly early in the week.
Sure.
And so they've already like compared all these teams and kind of gotten them organized based in groups. And I'm sure that if a team takes a bad loss, that they would look and say, well, maybe this team could go down a line. Let's compare them to these other teams that they have a line up. Remember, too, the season is 90 to 95% done already.
But what about a team like North Carolina?
Well, I think you're probably going to have conversations comparing those teams.
Like if North Carolina wins the ACC tournament,
I suspect that North Carolina will be a number one seed if they win the ACC tournament. But if not, they'll be a 2 seed, probably in the same bracket as the fourth number one seed.
Yeah, they don't.
So
that's not the fourth number.
That's not a terrible thing.
So right now, like you're talking about, do you want to be the number 1 seed in the West playing your first weekend in Charlotte? The number 2 seed in the West playing your first weekend in Charlotte? I mean, there's a marginal difference there potentially in both the first and the second round, but I don't see that.
Wait, you mean somebody who runs the selection committee won't put an ACC team with UConn and play the game in Connecticut?
That's an interesting thought.
Like, wait, that's a real thing? You could do that?
Forget.
Well, they'd be playing in Boston, technically.
You can earn your way out of that? Oh, that's weird.
That's all the more reason not to lose tomorrow either, by the way.
For the Heels.
For the Heels, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, bracket luck is real. They need to avoid UConn. And you give yourself a chance. You give yourself a 2019 Virginia chance by avoiding the best team for as long as possible. And then you hope that they don't show up. And
nothing wrong with that.
Given they just had a Final Four trip that included a win over St. Peter's in the freaking Final 8. Well, guess what?
Bracket luck
is realer than my tax bill.
Which you're not going to pay based on today's tickets.
Not with today's tickets.
Not with today's tickets. No, not today. Not today. Somebody's in the mood today.
Oh, boy.
It's because I didn't have the machine with me today spitting out totals for me.
See? Look, Patrick,
he refuses to use his forces for my evil.
Joe was telling me about a conversation you had with him yesterday where, like, out of nowhere, you just knew what the total was for Rutgers and somebody else.
In Maryland, yeah.
Like, come on, dude.
Both games
were 109 points.
Come on, Patrick.
No truth to the rumor that the Big Ten had arranged to drop confetti when those teams passed 109 yesterday. By the way, Maryland, of course, passing up losing a rock fight to Rutgers so they could lose a bloodbath today to Wisconsin and have its season come to an end. That's your update on former of ACC teams of the past.
You can take Maryland out of the ACC, but you cannot take Maryland out of their postseason blunders, at least when it comes to conference tournaments. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for giving us a little insight as to what's going on with the NCAA tournament. RIP Wake. It was real. It was fun.
Where are you going to be Sunday?
We'll always have the license plate.
All right, we'll send you a link. We're going to do a super special show on
What
Sunday.
time? What time are we looking at?
I mean, when that thing wraps.
I got work, like
real work
to do. So,
okay,
like we'll figure it out.
Okay, there's this thing called texting. We can make that work.
Rather than do it live, yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah. Well, no, we're gonna do it live. We're gonna figure it out.
Well, no. Doing the bickering live, like this is just the Giglio.
That's a feature, sir.
No, I think this is obviously a feature of the podcast where people get true behind the scenes stuff.
There you go.
All right. Anyway,
feature, sir.
Enjoy the game. Well. Look who it is. It's that Brownlow lady. Look at you rocking the home field. Look at you,
The
Lauren.
howling cow. Yeah.
I love that. We're going to go through some of the comments here. Speaking of shirts, you're rocking the home field. I want to give a shout out to Ken, if I can pull it up in the chat from YouTube. If you're watching live on YouTube, by all means, get in the chat, leave some comments. We'll pull them up. We'll read them. I think it was, yes, here we go. Ken was saying he wore his positive vibes only shirt. Had to be the reason NC State won. I mean, maybe. We'll see. Jameson was wearing the OG flag. He's like, yeah, I'm glad I wore this today, until the Ben Middlebrooks technically. He's like, well, maybe I'm going to delete this tweet. Maybe I'll delete it. Who knows? From the ghost of Reggie Gillespie. Oh, okay. Q1 win for State. Definitely getting them into Dayton, right? No, I don't think that's how that's going to work. From Alex, did we break the away tunnel curse? I think the away tunnel curse, it's not the away tunnel. We've decided that the tunnel is based on
your locker room.
On your locker room.
Bench stays the same, but your tunnel changes.
So essentially, going into Wednesday's games, or coming out of Wednesday's games, going into the Boston College, that was the Boston College Notre Dame game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The people that were going out of what you would consider the away tunnel, they were 0-6. Okay. But then Boston College broke it, and then Pitt broke it when they beat Wake Forest, and NC State did it. So I think the tunnel of terribleness is no longer a thing, Lauren. So Lauren, Joe and I gave our thoughts about what we saw tonight, both from the State side and the Duke side, before we talked to Patrick Stevens. And I thought of you immediately with 15 seconds to go and Kyle Filipowski fouling out. Like you called it. You called it in the last OG After Dark with Filipowski having, I forgot what the stat was of how many times he's had 4 fouls in games, and he's been lucky not to foul out. It happened late in this game. Yeah. Not surprised, given that they never took him out of that game for the most part.
Yeah, that was his second foul out, I think. And I think that's the 14th time, I want to say. I'd have to recount it, that he's gotten 4 or more, obviously. So, yeah, that was like, yeah, no, that was always that became like the joke with him, I feel like, was that he had fouled out since like early January, I think it was. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, he got in his feelings a little bit, it seemed like, in a second half. But like, they can't take him out. What are they going to do? Like, who's going to score if they take him out? They have no choice.
Yeah, and I think that's what was evident tonight in the second half. And I went over the bench minutes. It's not like John Shire is afraid to go to his bench. It's not like he's afraid to throw out some funky lineups. He was just letting those dudes sit in it and figure it out. If you're going to win a championship, you're going to have to be the ones that do that. And it just, something looks off about this group. And it's not something like Carolina broke them or whatever it is. They've been fortunate to power through. I think sometimes they can get by on talent, but we've seen it enough consistently throughout the year that a team can hit them, and they don't quite know how to bounce back from that. And State did that tonight. NC State was unbothered the entire night. It's not like they didn't try to get back into it. I mean, they had some big shots. They had some moments. There were some weird fluky things. NC State was unbothered the entire night.
That's what, sort of, until the very end.
Well, Laura,
I was like, if they lose this game, like, just forget it. Like, you can't. Then like, no one can even argue anymore if they lost the game after that. Like, but they did it. That's the thing. And credit to them, because we've seen them lose plenty of games over the years after weird stuff like missing a wide open dunk and then getting a technical for hanging on the rim happens. Like, tell me that wasn't the perfect, like, so-called NC State shit script being written, but they stuffed it, didn't they?
I was going to say, that's how you have to, as Kevin once said and regrets to this day, that's how you stuff the stuff.
Yeah, never say that again.
I almost tweeted it, but I was like, I'm not taking the blame for that.
Speaking of NC State coaches and story time, I think it's time for the Mark Gottfried axiom. You loved sitting in front or behind the Duke bench in front of the Duke family.
It made me feel alive.
It does make you feel alive.
It makes me feel alive.
It really does. You hear all sorts of stuff,
you see what's going on. You hear things. And it made me think, when Mark was at State and he was having guys transfer.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think history forgets the reason Mark got fired wasn't Dennis Smith. It was for roster management, and too many players were transferring.
Way too many.
So Debbie Yao had said to him, like, we need to have consistency on the roster. And Mark tried to explain this to me. And he said, listen, because transfers were kind of a thing across the ACC other than Roy Williams and Mike Bray. I mean, there was a time they were like the only two coaches who didn't have player transfer.
Mhm.
And he said to me, he goes, when you are Duke and Carolina and Kentucky and Kansas, he said, the family will tell the player, listen to the coach. He's a Hall of Famer. He knows what he's talking about. But when it's any other school, it's always the coach's fault. So the Twins and Kyle Washington and all it was always, well, you don't know what you're doing. You're the mistake. Tyler Lewis. You're the problem. And I'm sitting here in front of the Duke family. Here's a sampling. Because this is not Mike Krzyzewski anymore. And I promise you, during the games, Mike Krzyzewski was not. Because first of all of the daughters were there policing the area.
Oh, yes.
That's
The Krzyzewski women would not have tolerated.
That's number one.
Yeah.
But number two, like Shire's a new coach. And so you're going to hear it. You're going to get the same talk. And I'm hearing the family. Here's number one. This was at the end of the game. There we go with an adjustment with 3 fucking minutes left in the game. Then they come out of a timeout. They run a play.
Yeah.
And it was a bad shot.
Yeah.
Weak ass play.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I think they were trying to pick up their individual family members,
Of course.
but there was a lot of there was a lot of like X and O, which is fair.
Yeah, I didn't jot this down, but you heard it too. There
Yeah,
was
it's
like, what are we doing?
Are we hedging?
Are we hedging?
doubling?
Are we playing
switching?
off? What are we doing? Right, all these things.
Okay, I get all that.
Pick something.
But guess who never heard one scintilla of that? The previous coach.
Yeah, back in the 80s, he did. Back in the
early.
80s.
That is newsworthy for that reason.
Early, yes. So no, and then the other thing that obviously struck me was the one thing that Ralston Turner told me that I'll never forget. You know, he said the Duke players are allowed to talk to the officials in a way that no one else, like not even Carolina players, can get away with.
That's true.
Actually, well,
That's
there was one other team that could when they came to the league. Al Skinner's Boston College team. Because that Al Skinner's Boston College teams were run like an NBA team.
They were
in all facets, right? Like how he coached, his demeanor, all that stuff. And
who's not vibing with Craig Smith and Jared Dudley?
Yeah.
Right. But I'll never forget Jared Dudley at a tournament just absolutely talking to an official like an NBA player.
But
But anyway,
I was playing golf when Kay had like officially, I think, announced the retirement, whatever it was.
Yeah, I think it was Jeff Goodman who had.
And he said, he goes, those fans have not a single clue what is headed their way. He goes, they've gotten just as I say, they've gotten every whistle for the last 30 years. They have no idea. And I wanted to stop today and play that 2012 game where Richard Howell had 4 fouls by the end of the first TV timeout.
Yeah.
I wanted to make those people watch that game who are sitting here complaining about the officiating. Like I tweeted, my dear friends in blue, you got a long ways to go to make up for the last 30 years.
Oh, goodness. This is from SW Wonders. This is fun, but we all know this is going to end, unfortunately, getting hammered in the championship game by UNC.
Happened in 97 where Justin Gainey, Danny Strong, CeCe Harrison, Osh Benjamin, they get to the final last day. And Carolina, the fresher team, Shammond Williams, just caught fire in the second half of that game. Greensboro Coliseum. Same thing happened down in Tampa. One of the lost years of Brandon Wright. No one ever remembers Brandon Wright.
Ty Lawson dunking at the end, controversially.
But it was, they state ran out of gas. It was a really good game. It was like 90-80, I think, was the final of that game. Good basketball game, but Roy had his way.
So, Lauren, you kind of rolled your eyes, and there's a lot of this in the comment section, and I get it. I'm not dismissing it. I totally understand because NC State fans went into this tournament just, like, all right, is Kevin Keats going to get fired? Are they moving on? What happens if they lose to Louisville? Okay, what happens if they beat Louisville? They'll lose to Syracuse. It is what it is, right? So there's this weird mix of hype that they're going to be playing on Friday night. But at the same time, the dread then comes back in. I'm like, I'm back getting my hopes up, and it's only going to end badly. That means State fans have every reason to be trained to feel that way, though, Lauren.
Yes, I was going to say, I don't have the suffering history, I feel like, on my side, even as a Panthers fan. I don't feel like that State fans do, especially longtime ones. And so, when you see something happen over and over and over again, like, why would you get your hopes up that it would be different? You hope for the best, you go in with dread, and you hope for a pleasant surprise. Like, I totally understand that mindset. They've been hurt too many times.
Yes. And I thought this is a good comment from B. Wayne on the YouTube comments. It's clear this team hasn't quit on Kevin Keats. If you're an AD and think it would be very difficult to let Kevin Keats go now, I never really got the sense that was the case with NC State and Kevin Keats.
Well,
I never got that sense.
No, I didn't either. But at the same time,
which part are you talking about?
The state team quit on Kevin Keats or any of that stuff. I never got that sense.
The performance down the stretch was less than inspiring.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but
that plus, like, if you know the coach.
What about Wake then?
Like,
I can't make any statements about Wake Forest at this point. Maybe I'm the jinx.
Your Deeks.
Because I called them my Deeks. That roster is so much better than what they put on paper this year and what their resume says.
B-Dot's lingering. B-Dot, are we getting a Carolina State final? Say hi to Lauren.
Hello, everybody.
There's Brownlow. Brownlow says hey. So we're getting a State Carolina thing?
Hey,
okay.
Will you tell Theo Pinson that I'm sorry that those motherfuckers beat his second favorite team tonight?
What happened? What am I missing?
Okay. Josh will fill you in.
Josh will fill you in. Josh will fill you in. Josh, you over there cursing over there?
That we
have no rules, sir.
We can, hey, B-Dot, we can curse here.
I know.
Remember, we can curse here.
I get it.
Remember, we're free.
freedom.
We're free.
Oh, right there. Big shot to the pen.
Oh,
Big shot. Big shot. Big dog.
Get out of here.
Keats is my guy, man.
Get out of here, B-Dot. Anyway.
Keats is my guy.
No, we know. No, but the to your point,
You're saying it hasn't quit. No, the team hasn't quit. But
two things can be true. Like
there was these slow starts, even to the Syracuse game, which is the one that still bothers me.
Oh, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
The 55 points in the first half. Now it was a 3 or 4 point game in the second half. So they did come back.
Mm-hmm.
They did fight back.
Yes.
And that was my frustration in the first half of the Louisville game. It was like, why do you do this to yourself?
Yeah, I think that's
why
a frustration
you
with
this
the
hole.
team. Yes.
And then all of a sudden you see that fight and you realize that the quit is not there. So yes, I agree. I thought you meant when you were talking, I thought you meant that people didn't want Kevin fired going into this tournament.
Oh, no.
You were saying.
No.
That's why I was like,
no, my bad. Look, it's late. It's been a long day. We're all a little bit loopy right now. We haven't had anything.
I have had no alcohol today.
I know it sucks.
That's unfortunate.
But that's what ACC
It's a long
hospitality
day
is
for me
for.
because my Japanese place was closed.
I know.
It was my beer spot. That's why I didn't win any bets today. Although
How do you already have spots?
I don't know.
Because it's
we found one.
because it's Joe. He the fact that he told me like, oh, I went to this Japanese place and it was cheap, is really good. We're gonna go there today. I'm like, dude, there's so many other places.
You're like, well, you already went there. Don't you want to
why
try
do you
it?
want to do that? That's just what you
know
do.
me, Lauren. I'll go back and order the same thing.
I had the chicken pot pie once. It
The
was
same
amazing. I'm
thing?
only gonna get the chicken pot pie ever. That's all I'm ever gonna do.
I can't order the same thing. I feel like I'm gonna miss out on something else on the menu. If I'm back again, I feel like I have to get something different.
Yeah. So anyway, this is from John on the YouTube comments. How Lauren describes an understandable State fan mode of operating. That's exactly how I approach basketball.
Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you? I totally understand that. And like the amount, like when you think back to some of the dumb things they've had happen to, like when the dunk thing happened today, I immediately thought of the, what was it, 03 ACC title game?
Yeah.
With what was the floor wiping technical?
Oh, it's 4. That was the semifinal where they lost to Maryland. Larry Rose called a technical for the manager lingering on the floor.
Here, let's get weird with it before we get out of here.
Got Josh Graham.
Josh Graham, WSJS. Go sit next to Giglio. You're not sitting next to me. Josh basically. Look at that.
Hi.
You guys are good there. Josh basically begged to be on the podcast today.
That's the hottest mic in the history.
No, I was gonna say I have this down because Josh is very loud, so it's all good.
We could just
we'll just do that. This is a good point. But Josh actually offered like, well, what's the appearance fee? I'm like, there's no. What are you talking about? Like, no, what do I pay to be on your podcast?
Oh,
come on, Josh, that's ridiculous.
I was offering more than good vibes.
You could offer beer. That's always the way to
free
get
beer
through.
at the hospitality.
Beer on you at hospitality. All
Deal.
right, Corona Lights. Let's go. Feels like 87, Josh. You weren't even born. in
Josh was not
87.
even alive.
I was gonna say, I was like, there's no way he was
The thing I
born.
enjoyed the most was Kevin Keats walking off the podium, seeing B-Dot, and saying, "Get over here and put the Wolfpack fingers up."
Did you do it, Bina?
That's exactly what he did. It's on social media now.
Okay.
And I don't think Kevin will mind me saying this, but then Kevin said, they're about to light your ass up on social media.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Nobody controls me.
Hey, man, freedom.
Did you guys,
This phone's all
by the way,
Hey,
by the way,
start swearing.
have we thought about, Kevin said after the game, they're going to have ice cream.
Wait, look at him already in radio
I
mode.
know, it's
Like,
hilarious.
Hold
we're
on
like
a sec.
2 seconds. Oh, no.
Hold on a sec.
Now.
Is it time that we talk about 3 straight nights with ice cream?
Two Roosters ice cream. Go to
That's what I'm
twoRoosters.com.
saying. Like,
Wait, are we hot taking this? Like too much ice cream?
Yeah.
Lauren, Josh doesn't have
radio mode.
Josh
There's
doesn't
a
have
clock
headphones.
up here. In
Josh doesn't have
fairness.
headphones
oh, I
on.
can't hear Lauren.
Yeah, right.
We can
Josh
say
doesn't
mean
but
things.
we can. I
Okay,
have
yeah.
here. Hold on a second.
You know I keep that thing on me. I come prepared all the time. Yeah, you know I stay prepared all the time. What? No, he does not know what that means. Josh has no idea what that means. But I do. I know what it's all about. Here, give me that.
After dark, wild tonight.
Do we have the?
I was gonna say you would not know that y'all have not had alcohol.
It's called.
It's called that we're a little loopy right now. All right, Josh, can you hear now?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay, so
Hey, Lauren.
Wait a second.
Hi.
That's
anyway,
pretty
Oh my god!
you
I
do have to wear it.
That's fine.
You do
I get
have
it.
to wear it.
I get it.
All right, so Josh, are you already in radio workshop mode?
Yeah, he is. He is.
The
You've
wheels
only
are
been on the air
turning.
for like how long?
You
A
did like 3
little
hours
bit.
of radio today. Are you workshopping for tomorrow already?
Just starting to think about this building. If it's Boston College, NC State tomorrow night.
Well, Joe and I already talked about how we're going to replicate the last time we saw NC State and Boston College. He's going to get shit-faced because that's what happened at PNC Arena because we just went and we just, yeah.
I don't have my Carolina blue sweatshirt though.
Oh, but you know what? We can go find one.
Probably.
We can go find one.
Ooh, you know I love a
Dude,
Carolina sweatshirt.
They have Carolina hoodie stuff up in the, or I can break out the blanket.
This is
Done.
my
Done.
first ACC tournament in DC. I was super impressed by the turnout. Like a really, really good crowd for
Yeah.
the 7 o'clock game.
I would agree.
Really
Now,
good.
there wasn't a lot of state fans here. It was a Duke building tonight. And then Virginia fans were feeling it. That's where the old school nature came
I did
through.
enjoy that.
Look, I've said this before. I understand why you prefer things to be in North Carolina.
I love this.
Because that's your shtick.
I love this.
But
I don't want it to go. I want this part of that rotation. This is great.
The thing about what people fail to remember about DC is that it is such an area that brings all of these schools and young professionals together for a variety of reasons. You've got government employees, you've got the tech industry, you got a lot of lawyers up here too. So it really does bring everybody into a lovely melting pot. And for people in North Carolina, it ain't that hard to get here. And it involves Virginia Tech people show up in a big way. Heck, we saw a lot of Syracuse people here.
There was a lot of Pitt people here today too.
Yeah, there were. So DC's a great spot for it. And if the rotation was Charlotte and DC with Greensboro for the special occasions, I don't think anybody would complain.
There was also a lot of Maryland fans in here rooting against Duke, and they were undercover a bit, rooting against
Really?
Carolina as well.
Yeah,
There was
Gary
one-
Williams was here yesterday.
Yeah, sitting behind me, there was somebody I heard ask the question out loud. Seth Trimble, related to Mello Trimble? Heard that question, and a lot of people saying "oh" during the anthem. So I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
Oh, goodness. All right. What happened to your Deeks before we get out of here?
Okay.
Now go radio mode.
Let's do it.
It's Steve Forbes afterwards. You got, if you're the head coach at Wake Forest and you're on the bubble, you have to make that case afterwards, talking about
B-Dot, don't go anywhere because I got a question for you.
how we're an NCAA tournament team, just look at it and make the argument. But 2 years ago, it felt like Wake Forest deserved to be in the tournament and they were left out. This year, Wake Forest will cry bloody murder.
They
if
don't deserve to
get
be
it.
in.
No.
You're up 11 points with 10 to go in Raleigh. You're up 12 at Pittsburgh, and you blow that game. Up 17 in Charleston against Utah. You're up 14 in Blacksburg, all the way down the line. So today, it just seemed fitting that what would require Wake to potentially get over the top is not surviving a run from somebody, but having to come back against somebody.
Who's the suit? It's Josh Graham, WSJS. Who's the suit?
That needs to be your nickname now.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
the
you now.
suit.
The suit.
I don't want to quote
That's what you are
Jake from
now.
State Farm, but I'm wearing khakis. Khakis.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
If you could not put a crotch shot on the podcast,
jeez.
I was very
I would
mindful.
appreciate it.
Oh,
B
man.
Dot's already done that today on a TV show.
From LK. You know what, LK, I deserve this. Ovi has lists everybody that is not working class. It's a very good point, LK. Very good point. She will not be buying tournament tickets. All right, I'm going to give you. Never say I didn't do anything nice for you.
Oh,
okay,
please.
other than bringing you on the podcast, I'm going to give you tomorrow's WSJS take for free. You ready for this?
You're the one telling me to do like AI, have AI script my takes.
Sometimes they do sound like AI.
The ice cream one was verging on.
Yeah,
AI.
There are times where I could go to Chat GPT and say, "Give me a Josh Graham level segment," and spit out that stuff. But I'm going to give you one to elevate your game tomorrow. Are you
Okay,
ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Is this NPR, Josh, or is this
No, I
conspiracy?
want. I
we-
want you bringing energy tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
You know why NC State's playing tomorrow night? You know why they're playing tomorrow night?
Well, why are they playing tomorrow night, Joe?
Because Jim Boeheim fired
Ooh.
them up.
He did.
Jim Boeheim was such an ass during the Louisville State broadcast.
Oh, that's right.
And he was ripping DJ Burns. He was ripping them celebrating anything with
What are you
three
celebrating
goggles.
for?
Why are you in all my years, I've never seen something like this. What do you you haven't had anything to celebrate in a while. And guess who is now sticking it to Jim Boeheim? Motivated.
That's when I took it personal.
That's what I took it personal. Look, all I'm saying is that you and I both know an NC State coach that once played radio clips to motivate his team.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm telling you right now, I would not be shocked to find out that NC State played some clips from Jim Boeheim and said, "Stick it to that old ass."
That is reason number one, probably top of my list, why I'm bummed out that this game and this tournament's not happening in Greensboro. That Jim
Oh,
Boeheim
jeez.
wasn't
Okay.
doing.
Get-
You
all
should
right.
know.
Hit me.
I hit it, Mike. I muted you.
Then he'd
You're
be
out of here.
complaining about the food.
Give the mic to be that. You're done. You're done. You're done. You're done. I'm sorry. You're done. I don't want to hear a Greensboro take. It's in DC. It's gonna be a damn good crowd. All right. Anyway, B Dot's hanging out.
Get him out of there.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I'm just giving in to the craziness right now
Okay.
of live YouTube. I'm workshopping something, B Dot. You tell me if I'm onto something here.
Okay.
Armando Bacot realizes if he's going to go out as a top Tar Heel, you got to win something. They're going to win this whole thing on Saturday, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I really believe that. I was actually told something false earlier today that if Armando was the MVP of the ACC tournament, that they would put his numbers in his jersey.
Yeah,
in the
no,
raffle.
that's not one.
That's
You're
not how it works.
That
right?
does not how it works.
How does it work?
You have to be a National Player of the Year, of course.
An ACC player of the
ACC
year,
Player of the
which
Year.
is what RJ will do.
Final Four MVP or National Champion Team MVP.
Wait, there's not an ACC tournament MOP in there?
No. And I thought that there was.
I thought there was an MOP in there.
I did too.
I still want to put Kennedy Meeks up for
He-
17.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Should have been.
Right.
Yeah, Kennedy
Agreed.
Meeks should have been the MOP in the
Great,
Final Four
great
for that.
moments in pandemic radio history when I said that to Joel Barry, and he was like, "No,
Okay.
no, I was."
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
in my mind, sorry, Joel Barry, you're a nice person, but that's Kennedy Meeks' award
Oh,
forever.
here,
I
come,
agree.
here come the Who's, by the way.
Yeah, the
23,
Who's are coming
27.
back. And Elliot Cadeau is going to be the X factor the entire time, man. I love watching that dude. I
He's
love watching
playing
that dude
great.
play.
I asked him earlier, like, did it feel like an AAU vibe to him today? Because that's
Okay.
what it looked like. And he was like, yeah, like nobody could guard him. He just felt comfortable. Like he was very, very dominant. But if RJ and Cormac are shooting from that type of clip, this team's just going to be very dangerous. Like, I'm just going to be honest. But like, even with the Wolfpack, I was impressed with the Wolfpack tonight.
Sure.
And before the game, I don't know the media guy over there, but he was already making his plans for the weekend. And I was like, yo, like,
What, NC State?
yes.
Call out Craig? Damn,
That's
man.
exactly what it was. I'm like, bro, like, listen, I believe. Am I getting somebody in trouble? My
Yes.
fault. Well,
Yes.
this is
Yes,
a
you are.
podcast, so
You are.
but
Come on,
nevertheless-
Bob.
but no,
Come on, Don.
you know, he may have been saying it in jest, but nevertheless, I just felt like NC State was playing with house money.
Yeah.
And I just felt like they had nothing to lose.
They were.
And Duke has been so inconsistent, especially with their guard play. Like Jeremy Roach, the last two games has been invisible. Senior night and first round of the ACC tournament. That's your senior guard. So like I had faith in NC State, and I love Coach Keats. So I'm glad you guys could get a dub, and I hope you all beat whoever they play from this game tomorrow.
I don't know. What's the score right now?
BC
About two.
25-23.
Okay.
Virginia's gonna
Why
win.
is Boston College like this? Like, what are you serious? Why are you doing this? Why are they like this? Literally.
I
Like,
agree.
hey, let's just knock some more teams out of the tournament while we're at it. Get
Just
out of here.
so delicious that it could be Boston College and NC State.
That would be hilarious. Nothing says
Now
Friday. Nothing
there-
says Friday night
there-
ACC Legends. No,
there, sir.
that's last
you're
call for
looking-
basketball.
If you're looking for the law, sir,
Hey, no, well, ooh,
I've
that
got
would be
bad
bad.
news for
But I
you.
tell you what, this is what's Cal, Stanford, and SMU. That they're diminishing the beauty of State BC on a Friday night at the semifinals for sure. All right, Dot,
State
thanks for hanging
BC.
out, man.
Can I just say one thing? Jim
Yeah, dude.
Boeheim can't say anything to anybody. Jim Boeheim killed a man. I just want to leave that there.
Okay, Dot, get out of here.
All right.
That's coming in hard.
So wait, you can curse, but I'm gonna say Jim Baker.
Come on, man.
What are we doing? here? You
all-
can say F-bombs, but I can't say Jim Baker.
Come on, man.
Come on.
Whoa! You're breaking it. Now you're breaking my equipment.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
Oh my god.
thanks, man. Get out of here.
Oh.
Bye, Dot.
Unfiltered Dot. S. Dot Carter.
Whew.
You must try harder.
All right, you know what? On that note, I think that's how we end it.
That's it.
Yeah, I think that's it, man. We
Can we just do a whole thing with no ads?
no. Hey, dude, you got it in you, Joe. You got it in you.
I mean,
You got it in you.
it's nice.
Anyway,
You guys staying in the building for Virginia, BC?
no, I will be headed to
It's
hospitality. Have a beer.
Beverage time.
Yes, that's what it's all about.
I got to go cash my UNLV ticket too. The only one that was successful today.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up. Brian, thanks for hanging out.
Of course, anytime.
Thanks for watching on everybody watching on the YouTube comments. Thanks to Josh Cramp. Thanks for B Dot for saying some wild ass shit. We will see you tomorrow, hopefully, if we're not sued.